My name's Frances Ravensbergen. I was the instructor for the first section of the problem-based service learning course, and I've been a part-time faculty member of Concordia University since the 1990s.
You've said to me and you've written that the CEL 198A course was a very powerful experience in terms of university course. Can you explain a bit?
Yeah. I found that that course was the course where the most learning has ever happened with students that I've worked with at Concordia, because it's based on looking at problems that students are interested in, situations that students are interested in, because it's based on looking at learning that they really want to be having with individual objectives that are connected to it, because it's also structured in a way in that we build community when we work on the course, and we really can raise deeper questions. It meant that students really took ownership for the course and took ownership for their own learning. And so that just became very powerful in terms of them pushing me very strongly in terms of the different theoretical pieces that I was presenting. And it's not often that that happens in university courses. It sometimes happens in classes at certain times, but to actually have the entire course become an experience where there is a sense of community, where there's a sense of, I think for the most of the students it was a sense of safe space, that they could ask deeper questions about who they are, how they interact with the world, and also about community and the questions they have about what really is community and what kind of ideological frameworks of community do they adhere to. And to be able to discuss that openly in a class with other people with divergent opinions from week to week and build on it was powerful in terms of the learnings that they reflected back to me, both in their journals and in the final paper that they needed to write. So it was special. It was a special course, and I've taught other applied courses, but problem-based service learning is applied in a much more holistic kind of way, and I think that's one of the reasons that it was so strong for the students.
How did you see the progress in learning? You touched on it, but did you see some changes how did you see this empowerment?
Yeah. Sorry. Do you want to ask it again?
Yeah, and leave a little space after so how did you see the progress in terms of the learning of the students?
What was interesting was students kept having these aha moments. We would be talking about something, we might have done an exercise around reflection or looking at a theoretical concept. Then we would look at it in relation to either a guest who had come in or the field placement they were looking at or some other experience that they had had or a case study, and students would go, now I get it. And everybody, of course, was coming in different places. In this course, some people come in with no understanding of what community is about, and others have a lot of community experience. So those aha moments were very different for everyone, but capturing those as students went through the program was quite interesting to see. And so for some people, it was very much just, oh, community exists, civil society exists, and for some people it was very much about deeper fundamental questions around community. For everyone, it was around learning about self, and I think that's one of the powerful learning pieces that can be applied beyond the university setting for the students. One person I remember said, now I realize why I struggle so much in lecture format courses. And when we identified, we used Kolb's learning styles and we looked at what learning style everyone has. Someone else saying, now I understand why I have so much of a disconnect when I work with certain kinds of groups, because I really value task-oriented work so much more than process-oriented work. So everybody coming in from a very different place, but through the journals we were able to track the learnings that they had around self, around community, and then around understanding problem-based learning.
A last question. Yeah. So what are your thoughts about about the importance of such courses in the university programs,
yeah,
and such spaces?
Yeah. I always think about, Randy Stalker has written some really interesting stuff about civic participation and how that's a real lack that many university students have, and the disconnect with what's going on in broader society when they're going through their university studies. And I think the problem-based service learning really gives an opportunity for that connect to happen in terms of civic engagement, and for students to really begin to live very much the kind of situations that they'll be living once they leave the university setting. So it's a safe space to experiment with that and explore and learn about that. And that's certainly some of the feedback I was getting from people even recently about just understanding how to enter into a work setting, how to negotiate a contract with different people, how to deal with different philosophical understandings of the work that's being done. And so learning that, both the civic engagement piece and the importance of civic engagement, and that students see that that's something that needs to be done, as well as what kind of the real world out there is like, are two really, really important pieces, I think.